Greetings, this is Mark White. I just wanted to share with you the accommodations request packet that I've sent so that you could better understand what the process is at SAGU for making requests for accommodations. So the first page of the packet is the part that describes the process that is required for students to request accommodations. In order to show you that, let me go to the top and explain to you how that works. Okay, so first off, if you ever need to get in touch with us, our access information, our contact information is here at the top. Our number directly to the Learning Centers is 972-825-4841. And we also have our fax number below that as well, 972-923-8188. Anything that you need to email to us would go to academicaccommodations@sagu.edu. All right, so let me explain the process for requesting accommodations. First of all, students must first be accepted to SAGU, before beginning this process. Until then, there's no need to discuss accommodations. Your process begins once you've received your acceptance. All right, so upon acceptance, you can either fax, scan, or email, or even mail the documentation in to me using that above contact information. So this process begins once your disability documentation is received, as well as the accommodations packet that you're looking at right now. Once I have both of those completed and turned in, then I can start the process, okay? So all of our communication by email is going to be to your LionMail account, so make sure that you're keeping track of that. That's where I will email you and respond to let you know that I have received your disability documentation. In that email, or another time before, I will have also sent you the accommodations request packet. We call it ARP for short. So you will have gotten it by then. You need to finish this packet and send it to me as well, okay? Once you've sent those in, you've submitted your documentation in your accommodations request packet. The next step is for me to review these documents, this information, and then decide if accommodations are appropriate for SAGU, then what those accommodations are. And once I've done that, I will then finalize the accommodations and get in touch with you. Reviewing means that I'll take a look at the accommodations request packet, as well as any disability documents you've given me, and maybe something else there may be something else that pertains. If I need some more information from you, some more understanding, I'll seek some elaboration and clarification if needed. Once I've done that, then I'll determine what's going on, what academic needs there are. I'll be looking at the validity of the accommodations that you've done before. Do they work in the higher education setting? Also look at then deciding what specific accommodations. I'll select valid accommodations that meet the verified needs of the student. Now, occasionally too, I have to keep in mind the appropriateness of an accommodation based on the program that the student is doing. Sometimes an accommodation may not be appropriate because it will change the experience and requirement that a student has to go through, that all students are supposed to go through for a certain course. That's few and far between, but it is something that goes into the consideration as well. Once everything has been figured out, the accommodations will be finalized. They're recorded on a document that's called the Student Review of Academic Accommodations. I call that the SRA for short. And then the next step is that we're going to have a conference. This is the accommodations request packet conference. So either once this is to this point, I will send you an email notice to your LionMail account once again to inform you that the accommodations have been processed and it's time for us to meet and discuss. So you'll set up an appointment, and we'll have our accommodations request packet appointment. We'll discuss the content of what you shared in the packet as well as your documentation, and we'll go over this information together. It's best when this is done when you are on campus. So when you arrive on campus, that's when this will happen. Hopefully we'll have this set up before you, as far as scheduled beforehand, so it's just ready to go. You're ready to meet me when you get here. But that can be done as well once you're on campus too. During this appointment, we will discuss the disability limitations that were shown and for your academic performance, and also discuss the selected accommodations that match those and bring some support to that. If need be, we could also revise the academic accommodations list if that's necessary, depending on the support that you may be able to share with me. That might be something that can be done. Usually the list is a workable list, and that shouldn't come to that, but it could happen if needed. So at that point, we will, by the end of this, come to a working list of accommodations that should meet the needs as possible for the semester. You'll sign that document, the student review of accommodations form, and then I will send a similar form. That's the next step. I'll distribute a similar form to your professors, and it will provide them the list of accommodations as well. And then they will be aware that you are a student who will be receiving accommodations in their class. Okay, so distribution refers to me sending it to the professor. So now they also have the same list of accommodations that you will have. You will have a copy of this student review of accommodations form. But the next step with this is discussion. This is one of the most important steps in the whole process of this. You need to have an in-person discussion if you're on campus, or an email discussion or phone, preferably if you are online, to discuss how the accommodations will be applied in your classes with your professors. This is vital, because if you and your professor do not have an understanding on how things are going to work, there will be confusion throughout the semester and your class will not go as well as expected. If both of you aren't familiar, for example, in how testing is going to go, if you're on campus and you've got a test in their office, if that's not scheduled ahead of time and discussed ahead of time, it's going to come a surprise when they're expecting you to take the test in class and you're expecting to do it in the office. So make sure you have conversations. You go over each of those accommodations one at a time with your professor. In this way, you'll be able to make sure that things go smoothly. Finally, at the end of each semester, you'll receive an email asking if you plan on renewing your accommodations for the next semester. So the final step is renewal of accommodations for the next semester. You don't need to provide any more documentation unless there's a change in diagnosis or additional information about diagnosis and disability. Then you provide that additional information to me and I can revise the accommodations list that you have. Otherwise, you should be set to go. I just need to know that you're doing accommodations in the following semester so I can prepare that next semester's documents. Or specifically that student review of accommodations, I'll be preparing another form for the following semester. So that'll be something you'll need to provide as well.